Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna sit back.
Welcome back to Live from the Heartland for the week of June 8th. And I'm really honored now to bring on our longtime political analyst for a number of years, the one and only Don Rose. Good afternoon to you, Don.
Good morning to you.
I know. Well, you never know when people are watching it, so I was winging it there. But, it is a year of elections around the world. We've had Spain. We just had Mexico this past weekend. We had South Africa. Looks like Modi's winning in India, and I wish he wasn't. And we've got Great Britain coming up, and of course we have the U.S. coming up. So let me ask you right off the top, what's your sense of democracy around the world?
I think it looks to be somewhat in jeopardy. I'm very disturbed about India. It's the world's largest country in population. And after what seems to be many, many years of, as long as it's been liberated from decolonized, whatever you want to call it, from Britain, it has, it's gone through all kinds of changes, but I've never seen it, to my recollection, a split where you've got a government that is Hindu, which is, of course, the majority religion there, but anti-Muslim. It's setting itself up. The Modi government is setting itself up for civil war or suffocation of a very substantial number of Muslims there. I think that's the single most disturbing. In Britain, of course, we can look forward to Labour, a rejuvenated Labour Party, taking over after, 14 or 15 years of conservative government. And we may see some good happening there. The conservatives have been trying to take away every benefit that was first awarded when Labour took over after World War II and created, a quasi-socialist government. And they've been stripping it away. They permitted the health system to deteriorate. It really needs a new direction, and it's certainly going to get it. The only question is the size of Labor's majority when that happens. Spain, it seems rational. We haven't. There's no danger points, and they're treating their separatist voters, the leaders of the separatist vote, fairly. So I'm not particularly worried about what's going to happen there. Mexico will get an amazing combination. Its first woman president, and it's a nice Jewish lady.
It is.
The Mexicans are going to have to learn how to sing My Yiddish Mama in Spanish.
Oh, that'll be good. Maybe we'll get them on the show singing it.
There we go.
Let's bring it to back to the United States. And before we go to the Trump verdict, let me ask you about where you see things at on the U.S. election coming up in November. A lot of talk, a lot of polls, a lot of dismissing of polls. I tend to be optimistic, but that's my nature. What's your take on where the election is at?
Well, I think it's, the Trump verdict is tied into it, but I too have some optimism. There were signs, early signs of a turnaround in people's thinking about inflation. There's still fantastic ignorance of the real economic situation. There's still people in this country who think, the market is down and the economy is bad and unemployment is bad, when we've got record low unemployment. We've got particularly record low unemployment for African Americans and minorities, categorically, So
let me throw in here. I just saw a headline somewhere that talked about a gap between the way a lot of Americans view their own personal economy and the nation's economy. More positive on their own personal situation, but a bigger gap on where they see the country's at.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. People who, although they complain about the economy, more and more people are satisfied with where they are, even though they have a misguided view of where the larger country is. Now we've got, something like 5.5 months or thereabouts to begin to drill that in. There are signs of turnaround. Even before the Trump verdict came in, some polls were showing under certain circumstances, particularly the best informed voters and the most likely voters were beginning to move in the direction of the Democrats, which it has time to do. I think it's aided by the Trump verdict, which we can talk about. We have some significant pivot points. We have the debate, which may or may not show the concerns about Biden's age to be warranted or not warranted. If he comes across any nearly as well as he did in the State of the Union.
Yeah, he was good.
Well, of course, he was also scripted there. So, and from everything we know, he does have bad moments, and it's a matter of whether he can hold up during that period. He certainly can show Trump up to be a babbler, as he did. I think Trump, one of the reasons Trump lost the last election was his insane performance and arguments and trying to talk over Biden, 4 years ago. And Trump has done nothing but deteriorate since then. So, there's a big if, and if Biden holds up reasonably well during that, and if Trump performs as we've seen him perform, that will be another boost toward him. And even though these things are taking going to be before the conventions, there'll be the sentencing thing 3 days before the Republican convention. There will be reaction to the sentencing.
Well, let's switch over to that very question. What is your take on the Trump verdict? I have a lot of people asking me. I don't have a position or a line on it yet. I'm just hoping that it diminishes him in some way. What's your sense of it?
Well, all the polling pre-verdict and the early stuff the last day or two post-verdict suggests that he will lose a lot of support. One poll showed that 49% of independents, who he seriously needs, believe he should drop out of the race. Now, whether they will vote against him, if anywhere near that number of independents votes against him, as we hope, it'll be pretty devastating. He will lose, at least by the polling we've seen to date, he'll lose a lot of Republicans. Right now, he has a number of Republicans who say that they will vote against him are enough to defeat him. It's quite possible. However, like all the polling, the negative polling about Biden that's been going on for the last 6 months at least, can be discounted, and so the positive polling that is emerging might also be discounted. I think it's much too early to tell. We've got to let the verdict sink in, and it's going to take. I wouldn't trust a poll as being anywhere near predictive for probably by the time of the Democratic convention. And there is another potential breakpoint. If the Democratic convention turns out to be unruly and bitter and police are involved and heaven knows what, it could be very destructive, as it was in 1968. If the Johnson administration here wakes up and establishes a decent protest area and begins to give permits that are more in line with our civil liberties, we certainly can avoid many of those problems. But once again, that's a potential bump in the road. And I don't like the direction at the moment, but it is not too late to prevent a catastrophe. And
yeah, well, you and I were both around for the last one, or not the last one, the one in '68. You were with the mobilization, and I was in the streets, and I got photographed trying to tip over a paddy wagon, which we got a lot of accolades for over the years, but we never did tip it over. I just want to be clear about that. But
it's a great photo. I still treasure
it. I recently was interviewed by someone from USA Today, and I'm not sure what they were talking about the Palestinian demonstrations and encampments going on, and wanted to know kind of where I was at on the coming Democratic convention. And I said something to the effect of, I don't want to be like a revisionist, but I kind of think that back then we played into the hands of the election of Richard Nixon. And I hope that that really doesn't repeat itself. I mean, there are going to be a lot of demonstrations. There's a lot of people planning to show up, and we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that though people see that we certainly have a choice between two people. None of us really wanted either of them, but one is way better than the other.
And we do have to try to neutralize to some extent those people who consider themselves pro-Palestinian. I'm not talking about the out-and-out anti-Semites. That's different. But the Palestinians who are threatening to leave the Democratic Party or not vote for Biden, are making a great mistake. And my hope is that when they examine the choice they're really going to have, most of those are going to come home. It's very important they do, because that is another potential difficulty, or it's a difficulty now, and if it goes on, that can be very, very bad for Biden. The numbers who are protesting in the key states are enough to defeat him. And if they are rational people, I understand, I sympathize with their view. I think, the Palestinians are being very ill-treated, and I want that war to end, and even though Biden, they think that Biden can end the war, which is a mistake because Netanyahu has his own survival there. He's simply not going to listen very well to Biden, who is moving certainly in the right direction now.
Yeah, I have a sense that particularly, I mean, there's a larger population of Palestinians, I think, here in Cook County than there is up there in Michigan. But it's all been the talk has all been about the Michigan Arab community and them talking about not voting for Biden. But I think they're probably highly politically conscious as a group compared to a lot of other groups, and I have a feeling that they will come around. And I'm not sure Michigan is in much danger as we thought at one time.
Well, I hope that's right. I tend to agree because I think when they realize that in effect, rooting for Hamas is going to make just a hellish world for them. Hamas doesn't give a damn about its own citizenry. They're happy to see destruction because that empowers them. So,
well, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit, Don.
Yeah.
I was at a memorial for Slim Coleman, Walter Slim Coleman, who I'm sure you know.
Very well.
He just passed away, and I will always be grateful to the work he did around registering voters for Harold Washington and that victory. The memorial service this past Thursday was at Operation Push down in Hyde Park, and there was a good crowd there. And one of the things that really caught my attention, though, was the aging leaders that we still have in positions of influence. Not only Jesse Jackson, who, he clearly is in a wheelchair, not in real good shape. I watched people come up to him. Chuy Garcia was really great, and he's not that old, but we had Danny Davis. We had Bobby Rush, who was one of the founders of the Black Panther Party here in Chicago and a longtime congressman. And it just occurred to me that while there were some young people there and kind of cadre from Slim's church and his organizing work, I'm wondering where you're at on future leaders in Chicago. Who's coming up? Who you might be aware of that we might look to for the future? Because some of these fellows are not going to be in office for too much longer.
Yeah, well, I don't think we're going to see the kind of mass leadership we once saw when we had more narrow means of communication. I think they're going to be dissipated by the internet and all the social media. When I look to potential leaders, one of the people that I am admiring right now, in addition to your alderman out there in
Maria Hadden in the 49th.
Maria Hadden, and I think Matt Martin has a very good chance to become somewhat of a significant political leader as we see him going. He's influential. He's on the right side of things. He strikes a balance between the farthest left city council people, older people, whatever we're calling them these days, just alders. How about that? They're alders, not elders. And I see there now. I'm not on the ground anymore. I'm pretty much. I get out and do things, but I don't have any firsthand observations of some of the leaders on the street, the kind of people like Bobby Rush, who, goodness, I remember helping along through defeat after defeat when he was running for state rep, and then he finally had a great victory. I helped Danny Davis from the day he was trying to be a campaign manager, not just before he actually achieved office. So I know all these people, and their influence is certainly declining, as happens. And I don't know, I can't spot anybody out of office who is not an office holder who is rising on the streets. I just don't know who's out there in Hyde Park or Inglewood or farther south areas. There are certainly no leadership organizations such as we had in the 60s, like with the Coordinating Council of Community Organizations. So the best I can look to right now are a couple of alders, one woman, Ms. Haddon, and one guy, Matt Martin. They're my people. I tell the other members of the press, keep their eye on these two.
Good. Well, I'm going to keep my eye on you as long as I can, and we welcome you back maybe next month again. I don't know what your next column's going to be, but I look forward to them every week. And I think people, if they want to read an interesting right piece of work every week, they should go to your column, which I guess they have to hit you up at donrose@aol.com and then get signed up.
They can do that, or they can go to my Facebook column, which is open to everyone. I do post it there.
Great to talk to you, and I'll see you soon, brother.
Always.